Hey guys, what's going on? If you're new here, welcome. My name is Brittany Nicole, and for today's Technique Tuesday video, I'm going to give you my 6 tips for seamless foundation application. We're talking everyday foundation, right? We're not talking about wedding makeup where you have to layer a little bit more. We're not talking about event makeup. We're talking about everyday makeup. Makeup that you're gonna wear to work every day, makeup that you're gonna wear for a night out on the town, right? I think we get very caught up in the viral videos on YouTube and the sales that are being pushed from your favorite Instagram people, your favorite TikTok people, your favorite YouTube people. And it's very simple. Foundation should be simple, right? Light application, seamless application, looking like your skin, but a little bit better. So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of share with you some tips if you're struggling with your foundation or wondering why your foundation isn't looking like it used to look or isn't looking its best. So yeah, I'm gonna keep this intro really short and sweet. If you're interested in seeing that, go ahead and keep watching. Step 1 is prep your skin. What I mean is clean your skin and hydrate your skin. Have you ever tried to apply your foundation at the end of the night after work, not having cleansed your skin, not having freshly moisturized, and have you realized how poorly it sits on the skin? That's because your skin has been exposed to the environment all day long, and there's probably pollutants on your skin, and your skin has kind of been, you know, expelling oils and all the toxins and all that stuff out of the skin throughout the day. So that there's no way for your foundation to sit nicely on your skin at that point, right? You wouldn't paint, and I know you've heard this analogy a lot, but you wouldn't paint a canvas without priming the canvas first. You wouldn't paint your walls without priming your walls first. The same applies to your skin. So I went ahead and cleansed my skin, and I'm gonna go ahead and moisturize. After I cleansed, I went in with a serum, and that's been sitting on my skin for about 5 minutes, which I like to let the product sit in my skin for about 5 minutes before going in with the next. So now I'm gonna go in with my moisturizer, the Skin Medica Rejuvenate Moisturizer. I know this one sits well under makeup. I'm almost to the end of it. I'm like really getting towards the end of it, but you don't wanna try a new product, like a new skincare product, a new SPF, a new serum under a foundation if you have an event going on. Only do that if it's like a regular day and you don't mind if your foundation is gonna break up throughout the day or it's gonna pill. Sometimes foundations and skincare products don't play nice together, so you have to be very careful when trying new things if you have an event going on. So I'm gonna go ahead and moisturize and make sure I get every bit of my skin. And really make sure you focus on any areas that need a little extra love. Like I'm pretty dry here and here right now. I'm very dry on my eyelids. Speaking of eyelids, I'm gonna go in with a little of my Inky List Caffeine Eye Cream. This has been nice. I don't know, I haven't used it for longer than a month, and sometimes I just feel like all eye creams are the same. So I'm gonna apply a little bit of that under the eyes as well. And yes, I realize not everybody has like 5 minutes to let their product sink into the skin, but if you do, or again, if you have an event going on or you have photos being taken, it does kind of go a long way if you can let it sink in and kind of plump the skin. Another tip is to exfoliate your skin every so often, right? Whether that's using a little tinkle razor to shave or using a chemical exfoliant, or even if you're into, you know, the physical exfoliants. I'm not a huge fan of those personally, but you know, do you? That goes a long way to get that dead skin off of your face. If you have an event and you shave like the night before, if you've done it before and you know your skin isn't gonna react to it, your foundation will look so good on your skin, and your skin will literally feel like baby butt skin. I did it like a week ago and my skin still feels really good. So exfoliating maybe once a week would go a long way in your foundation routine if you find that your foundation isn't sitting really well on your skin. Another important step that I always do after skincare is I hydrate my lips. I just went in with my favorite night balm. This is from Bath and Body Works. If you have really dry, cracked lips, Aquaphor will be your best friend. I don't have that right now, so this works really well. So this is really helping to hydrate the lips as well while you go in and do the rest of your face. So at this point, if I needed to, I would prime. I don't, and I highly recommend if you do prime and you just use a primer that you've seen your favorite influencer use and you're like, oh, their skin looks so good, I'm gonna use this. I'd recommend trying your foundation without a primer just to see how it looks, right? I think we live in this world of sell on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok, and you see, you know, your favorite influencer and how their skin looks online, right? And you're like, that's the best. I always think back to like my beginning videos. I was using the Dr. Brandt Pores No More because Carly Bible used it and I thought her skin looked so beautiful. I had no business using that, okay? Zero. I've never had big pores. I've always had more dry skin than oily skin. I'm pretty normal, but if I ever like had to choose dry or oily, I would definitely be more on the dry side, especially in the winter. So I had no business using that. Even the thought of putting something like that on my skin just kind of makes me cringe at this point. So I highly recommend right after you do your skincare, rather than going in with that primer that you might think is the best thing ever, see what your skin looks like without it. I think there's certain skin types that do need primers. Like if you are really oily or you have bigger pores, you might need to go in with a pore refining primer. You might need to like really press that into the areas where you have larger pores. But a lot of times if you go in with your foundation right after your moisturizer, you don't even need it. So from time to time when I am really dry in like the dead of winter and my skin just needs a little extra something, I'll go in with the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hydrating Hyaluronic Primer, whatever it's called. This does give my skin a little extra love, a little extra hydration. So sometimes I'll go in with that, but I'm not gonna do it today because I just don't need it. And I find the less layers you have under your foundation, the longer your foundation lasts, the more natural it looks, and it just feels more comfortable. So if you need a primer, go in with your primer at this point, but if you don't, skip it. I hope that makes sense. If you need clarification on that, leave me a comment down below. I'm always commenting and chatting with you guys in the comments. So next step is applying the foundation. So it's probably been about 7 minutes since I did that skincare. I'm gonna go in today with the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Hydrating Foundation. Can you guys tell I like this line? It works really, really well for me. This is maybe a shade too dark, but it's what works for my skin right now. And you guys know I got rid of a lot of my foundations and concealers and all of that. So I don't have a lot that I'm working with. So I'm gonna make this work. I'm shaking the foundation, very important. Make sure you shake because you gotta get everything mixed together. And then there's a couple options, right? You can go in with a brush. I think a brush gives you a little more coverage. This one right here from e.l.f. is the e.l.f. Complexion Duo. It is a dupe for the IT Cosmetics number 7 brush. If they'll focus, there we go. Total dupe, it's just synthetic. So I'm gonna go in with this one today since my IT Cosmetics is dirty. That's another thing, clean your brush, okay? If you have a very, very dirty brush and you're going in and you're applying your foundation day after day and you're not cleaning your brush, it's not gonna look great. A clean brush will go a long way. So just take a little dish soap, honestly, after you use it, or your brush cleanser, and then you'll have a clean brush every single day. So you can also go in with a sponge, right? This is the AOA Paw Studio AOA Paw sponge. These are my favorite. They're $1.55. I do like sponges at the end to kind of press my foundation in and take away any excess coverage that I don't need. And I really like it personally for under the eyes, but to me, a brush will give you more coverage. So I like to start with a brush, and I'll just take a dot of my foundation on the back of my hand. That's not a dot, that's a squirt. And I like to spray my setting spray. We'll talk about the setting spray later, but I like to take my setting spray and dampen the tip of my brush. I also think this kind of helps like set as you go along, right? But I don't like to go in with just a dry sponge. For some reason, this just gives me the slick that I like. So I'm gonna very, very lightly just dab the bristles of the brush and kind of tap it off, just so I have a light coating on the tip of my brush. And here's the key, right? Start at the center of the face and work your way out. That's typically where you need the most coverage. Not everybody, some people might need a little more coverage on the outside, but starting in the center and just lightly applying a very, very light, could I say light one more time, layer of foundation, and then building where necessary will make a huge difference. Your foundation is gonna last longer. It's gonna be more comfortable throughout the day. It's not gonna look cakey. It's not gonna break apart. And do you see how effortlessly this is just gliding across my skin? I'm just kind of moving the product at this point. I'm not really focusing too much on blending. I just wanna make sure I get the coverage I need. I have a pretty red chin. I've got a pretty red nose, and then I have this weird redness around here. So I'm not going in and really trying to pack on the coverage. Now, of course, if you like a lot of coverage, you do whatever works for you, but I just want to kind of throw these tips out there. So if you're struggling and you don't understand why, because you see your favorite influencer going in and really kind of going at it with the full coverage foundation, try this, see how it works for you. And if it doesn't work, then try something else. So again, just starting in the center and working out. And I do not apply anything under my eyes because I go in with concealer. And again, I don't want to layer product on top of product. I want everything to look as seamless and as natural as possible, and that'll make me more comfortable throughout the day. All right, so that is one very, very light layer of foundation. I probably didn't even use half of what was on the back of my hand, and you could see I pulled it over to the side and kind of worked from this palette right here rather than dipping right into the excess foundation. I just wanted the lightest bit to be able to blend it out. And as I blended, I kind of did little circles and then I stippled to make everything look nice and even. And that's really it. If I needed to add any coverage anywhere, if you needed to, if you had excess redness somewhere, you could go in from there and kind of add coverage. I just think starting with one even coat is a really, really nice starting place, and I won't feel uncomfortable throughout the day. This isn't gonna crease excessively in my natural lines because I have no Botox right now, or my smile lines. It just kind of evens everything out. And I personally would just go in and spot conceal from here, like in any of these areas. I could go in and spot conceal these guys. It's that time of the month for me. If you had excess redness around the nose, you could add a little coverage there. You could see again, I didn't add anything under the eyes because I don't want to layer and layer and layer product, because that's when things start to feel really heavy and look really cakey. So that is it as far as my foundation. So next step is concealing, right? This is my favorite concealer at the moment. I have two very different colors. It's the Rose Ink Concealer. Very, very high coverage, really nice and luminous. So the darker shade is 040, the lighter is 010. So I'm gonna take just a dab of this. Whatever you do to conceal, do you. My suggestion is to keep it lighter than what you see online, right? I think a lot of people have started to do this. A lot of people have embraced more natural makeup, but for me, you could see where I'm darkest, right? It's like right here, and this is gonna be way too dark for my skin. This is so high coverage, I probably won't need more than that. And then I'm gonna add a little bit here, same thing on this side. And then I'm gonna take the lighter and add a dot, a dot, a dot, and a dot. I could spot conceal this, but I don't worry about stuff like that these days. It's my skin, you know what I mean? It is what it is. So I'm gonna take my sponge for this part, okay? I don't like a brush under my eyes. It doesn't work for my eyes. So this is a damp brush, but I am gonna take that setting spray we're gonna talk about in a second. I'm gonna add a little bit there and just kinda squeeze it a little bit. I'm gonna grab a little compact and I'm gonna look up and I'm gonna start to blend this. I'm very, very lightly just patting that in. And then I'm gonna kind of lift from this side, and I'm also gonna use this to cover my eyelid because I have very discolored eyelids. You can see my veins. So I just kind of use a little bit of concealer to help with that. I mean, see the difference? You could totally see the difference in like the purple and redness under the eyes with just that minimal amount of product. Really a little bit of a nice coverage, a nice medium high coverage concealer goes a long way. You really don't need a lot more than that. Again, it depends on your concern and what you've got going on. If you have super, super discolored under eyes, you might need, you know, more of a peachy kind of color corrector. But again, I highly encourage you, if you're used to seeing someone online use just a ton of product, try going in with a little less and see what it does for you. I also have very creasy under eyes, so less is a lot more for me. So my next tip is to set only where necessary. Do you see the size of this brush? I would even sometimes use just a regular, you know, eye crease brush to do this. You do not need to take a big old brush and set your entire face. Think about where you're oily, think about where you crease, and just lightly dab the skin, right? So for me, that's under the eyes. So you wanna make sure you're dabbing out any of those creases before you're setting. Otherwise, you're literally setting your creases. So I'm dabbing under the eyes with my sponge. I'm taking this brush and my favorite powder. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish. And I'm just gonna dab and then tap off any excess. We're not using a loose powder here. We're not using a ton of product, just the lightest bit. I'm gonna look up and I'm just gonna set a little bit under the eyes and then a little bit right here. And then the last place for me is my eyelids. So I'm gonna really make sure I tap out any of those creases and then right on top. I have hooded eyes, so I get real creasy in there. And that is literally it. I am not setting anywhere else on my face because I don't need it. Now, if you got super oily in your T-zone, maybe you would want to kind of set in your T-zone. Just think about where you get oily. Don't just automatically go in and, because we've all learned, like, you just take a fluffy brush and you apply it everywhere over your face and that locks your makeup in. It's not necessary. It's really not necessary, and sometimes it makes your skin look really dry. So only set with powder where needed. And then the last step is to use a setting spray that actually works. This Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray literally will make your makeup last all day, and it smells beautiful. Another really good one is the Scandinavia Bridal Setting Spray. I love that too. I think they make the Urban Decay as well, but I never felt like the Urban Decay All Nighter worked for me, but the Scandinavia Bridal Setting Spray did. So I'm gonna shake this up, and you do not need to douse your skin. We see this on YouTube every time. People go in and just spray the hell out of their face. It's so not necessary. 3, maybe 4 spritzes will be fine. An X and a T, you're good to go, which is exactly what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna hold this out. I'm gonna do a T and an X, and that's it. And then sometimes I'll kind of fan my skin off, and I'll take my sponge and I'll just press that in as it dries down. And that is it, you guys. That is it for my 6 foundation tips. I hope this was helpful if you've been struggling with your foundation. I think it's very easy to get caught up in the, you know, viral videos and the craze of products, but, you know, taking it back a step and just remembering, like, you know, a light application of foundation goes a long way. It's comfortable. It's not gonna crease like crazy like if you applied a ton of products. And hopefully, you know, the tips around like washing the face and moisturizing before application go a long way. So that is it for this one. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, as always, let me know down below. Otherwise, if you're interested in seeing any more videos from me, please subscribe. It means the absolute world to me, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.